Show, we will be informing you on the immigration laws in regard to business and what the entrepreneurs need to apply for, need to look out for to operate in the UK. The UK immigration system is based on a point system, and that equals 5 tiers of application processes, depending on what application you need to get processed. The immigration system for businesses operates on a 5-tier system. But we today, in this episode, will be focusing on Tier 1, the business visa application for businesses and entrepreneurs to set up in the UK. With a Tier 1 business entrepreneur visa application, your maximum stay in the UK is 3 years and 4 months. But don't be disheartened, because this can be extended. Let's join today the immigration specialist who we have with us. His name is Bruno Rodriguez, and he will help us with the business and entrepreneur visa applications and the eligibility factors that we need to look into for our application to be a success. Let's join Isabel as she speaks with Bruno Rodriguez to find out all the finer details for a business and entrepreneur visa application process. Hi there, welcome to our interview today. I'm here with Bruno Rodriguez of Cassidy Solicitors, and we're here discussing the UK laws governing immigration visas for entrepreneurs and investors.
Today I'm at Cassidy Solicitors, a law firm based in the heart of legal London that focuses on all aspects of corporate and commercial law. I'm here to meet with Bruno Rodriguez, a consultant solicitor who has been with the firm since 2012. Bruno tells me that he uses a friendly, approachable and determined approach in helping businesses and individuals win their cases. Today, I'm going to discover more about UK immigration visas and how applicants can navigate this lengthy and complex process. Bruno, thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello to all your viewers.
Thank you very much. So yeah, like I said, we're discussing UK laws governing immigration visas, and that's something you actually specialise in.
That's right.
Yeah?
That's right. I've been a specialist in immigration law coming up to 8 years now.
Wow, wonderful.
Thank you.
Great. So would you be able to, just to give people an overview and an insight into what it really means to go through the process? There's something called a point-based immigration
Points-based system, that's right.
Yes, exactly.
That's right. The points-based system was introduced in 2008 as a way to simplify the immigration process in the UK. Now, who applies under the points-based system? It's basically anybody who comes from outside the European Union and who isn't coming in the UK on the basis of a family life. That's usually means basis of a marriage or fiancé relationship or a civil partner with a UK national. So anyone who's not European or in that situation where they are married or in a long-term relationship with a British person. Now, there are 5 categories within the points-based system. Tier 1 is for high net individuals and business people. Tier 2 is for highly skilled migrants, what used to be called a work permit. Tier 3 is for low skilled labour, although that has never been open. So today it remains unoperational and probably will be for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
And then Tier 4 is for students. And Tier 5 is called for temporary migrants. And Tier 5, you can only be in the UK for a maximum of 2 years.
Okay, great. Bruno explains that for those seeking to migrate to the UK with an investor or entrepreneur visa, there's a lot of preparation needed before they even start their application. And so today we're going to be focusing on Tier 1, which involves entrepreneurs and investors.
That's right.
So first of all, as you know, the circumstances between the two are a little bit different.
Sure.
What are the legal requirements for investors who are seeking immigration visas?
Good question. Good question. There are actually 3 different investment thresholds in order to gain an investment visa. The first and the lowest is an applicant needs to invest £2 million in the UK. The next is the £5 million threshold, and the highest threshold is a £10 million threshold. Now, the difference between the 3 thresholds is the amount of time it takes an applicant to gain permanent residence, also known as indefinite leave to remain.
Okay.
So with the £2 million threshold, it takes an applicant 5 years.
Right.
5 million takes an applicant 3 years. 10 million, an applicant can be a permanent resident after only 2 years.
Great, wonderful. And so that's for people who already have, the finances to, and are looking to invest in the UK.
Yes, for those lucky enough to have those sums of money.
Yes.
And the money needs to be invested in either UK shares or bonds. The shares can either be limited private companies or public companies on the stock exchange.
Great. And so for those who want to start a company, for entrepreneurs who want to come to UK, what are the legal requirements?
This is perhaps a bit more popular than the investor route. Yeah. And in fact, in the last 12 to 18 months, it's increased in popularity. There are, again, a number of financial thresholds an applicant needs to meet. The most common is a £200,000 threshold. Right. So under this category, a migrant needs to have £200,000 to invest in either a startup in the UK or a going concern, or that's a business that's already operating within the United Kingdom. Okay. The other threshold is a £50,000 threshold, but this is a bit special, it's a bit unique, this individual category, because the funds need to come from certain sources. The funds need to come basically from the UK government. So as part of a competition that the UK Department of Business, Skills and Innovation runs. Similarly, the Scottish devolved government, Welsh devolved government, Northern Irish devolved government run similar type of programs. The £50,000 can also come from a seed competition. It could come from a venture capitalist firm that's accredited by the Financial Conduct Authority. And there's a list on the Home Office webpage of the suitable venture capitalist firms where one can obtain £50,000 from. So the £50,000, it's good, it's a lower threshold, but there's the added hurdle that an applicant first needs to obtain these funds from one of these institutions, which are mainly government-backed institutions.
Of course. But then on the other hand, you could say it's a great thing that the government is offering opportunities to help migrants.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's the theory behind it.
Exactly.
Yes, to facilitate business, facilitate investment from abroad inside the UK.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and so are there any recent changes or any upcoming changes that are anticipated that could affect these thresholds and systems?
Sure. There are always changes to the immigration laws. It's a field of law that changes very quickly. Now, in terms of Tier 1, what we're discussing here, there haven't been any substantive changes in the recent past. However, let me preface that by saying the new government, which was elected in May 2015, has very much an agenda to restrict immigration. So I would not be surprised if in the next year or 2 years there are substantive changes to Tier 1.
Right.
The government has asked the Migration Advisory Council, which is an independent body, to review Tier 2, which is a work permit for highly skilled migrants. And there is expected to be relative wholesale changes and reforms to Tier 2 later on in the year. So I think what I'm trying to say is, at the moment I can't give any concrete idea how this will change, but I expect it to change.
Great, that's wonderful. Okay, so for someone who would be thinking about Tier 1 application, it can be a lengthy process, quite complicated, there's a lot of things involved. Can you give us an overview of the process, please?
Sure. I said there haven't been any major changes. There was one fairly important change for the Tier 1 investor route that happened in November of last year. That has quite significant practical implications. From the November changes onwards, an applicant needs to have an investment fund, an investment account, approved by the FCA in the UK in order to invest the money. Okay? So what that typically means is if somebody wants to make an investor visa application, they first have to come into the UK as a visitor, or maybe they're here in the UK under a different capacity, to open that specific investment account.
Right.
And it's a highly regulated field, so banks require a certain amount of due diligence in opening such an investment account. So that's, since November, has added time onto the investor visa process application. Having said that, Tier 1 is a category that lends itself to quick decision-making on the Home Office's part. Okay?
Right.
Maybe your viewers have heard our horror stories of people waiting years and years and years and years and years for a Home Office outcome. That isn't necessarily the case for Tier 1. right? Because the Home Office needs, the UK indeed needs inward investment coming in, new blood coming in, new ideas coming in, new investment coming in. So in terms of decision-making times, there's a lot of resources within the Home Office expended to Tier 1 decision-making applications. So one can typically expect the Home Office to decide a Tier 1 application in the space of 2 weeks to 2 months, let's say. Great,
great. Okay. And for entrepreneurs?
Entrepreneurs, roughly the same.
Great.
Roughly the same.
Yeah. And so the process, what's involved? They just they do the same thing, or?
It depends if the applicant is inside the UK or not.
Yes.
So say if an applicant is already in the UK on a different visa, we'll take the tier 2 example. That is what is classed as an in-country application. So say somebody's already in the UK on a different visa, they want to switch to the Tier 1 entrepreneur visa, they have the money, they have a sound business plan, the application is put together, the application is then submitted to the Home Office, and then they can expect a decision within 2 months, let's say, if it's an in-country application. If it's an out-country application, if they're not in the UK on any other basis and they have to make it from their home country, one can even get the application decided quicker than 2 months, 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow.
Now, let's take the entrepreneur visa first in terms of documentation. A big change that happened in January 2013 is that the Home Office introduced the Genuine Entrepreneur Test. So now what's critical is, for the entrepreneur visa, you have to satisfy the Home Office that you are a credible and real business person.
Right.
Okay? And the way you do that is by presenting to the Home Office a really, really, really good business plan. With sound financials, good market research that the Home Office can accept as being credible and as being viable as a business proposal. If the application is submitted from outside the UK, the applicant would also be interviewed by an immigration officer. The interview typically lasts about an hour and is usually, in the main, on the topic of the business plan. So this is called the Genuine Entrepreneur Test, and it's very important.
Okay, and so after that, that's when the decision would be
After
made.
that's when the decision comes through, yes.
Great, lovely.
And if it's a good application, it should be accepted.
Wonderful, wonderful. Within a few weeks, you said, which is very promising.
Yes, indeed.
Lovely. So, in addition to all of that, of course, you know, you're employing a lot of people and engaging a lot of other people's time and effort. Can you give us a breakdown of some of the costs that would be involved?
Good question. In terms of the Tier 1 investor visa, the Home Office application fee is currently £1,500 for the main applicant and a further £1,500 for each and every dependent. That's included in the application. Now, it's always wise, because it's a very complex application, to instruct a solicitor to guide you and to help you prepare the application. Solicitors' fees vary, usually between the £3,000 and £6,000 mark, depending on the solicitor you instruct and the complexity of the matter. Because we're a very experienced law firm based in central London with a strong clientele in this field of law, we charge towards the upper end of that bracket, towards £6,000.
That's very understandable. Bruno is confident that with the right legal representation and support, the prospects for obtaining a visa are very promising.
The important thing for the entrepreneur visa is to meet the Genuine Entrepreneur Test. Something I should have mentioned about the points-based system at the beginning is, as the name suggests, it's a points-based system assessment. So one needs to build up a certain amount of points within the application in order for it to be successful. Okay? The idea of this always was that it takes away some of the subjective elements from the Home Office. So it's more of a tick box exercise for the Home Office. The applicant has XYZ documentation, therefore the applicant gets XYZ number of points, therefore the applicant gets the visa. But the General Entrepreneur Test, which was introduced in January 2013 for the entrepreneur visa, changed that, because now the onus is back on the Home Office to make a mental character assessment of the applicant of whether the business plan is a viable one or not. So in terms of pitfalls to look out for, The biggest piece of advice I would give for the entrepreneur visa is to make sure that you really are a committed business person. Because that's what the Home Office want to see. They want to see somebody who really has that passion to set up a business in the UK or invest in the UK and run that business once they're here.
Great.
And that, again, is proven by having a solid business plan.
Wonderful. And so for those who do have that passion and vision and who have a solid business plan or an idea ready, you know, what kind of support is there available here in the UK?
Very good question. I would very much suggest that they check out our webpage, www.cassidy's.co.uk. We have blog articles there. There are various other websites which people need to check out. The Home Office webpage is very important. It's actually a good webpage for a government site. It's very informative and easy to use. There are a couple of other good immigration law blog sites out there, one of which is called Free Movement, and another which I run as well is called Immigration Media. And on there you can find videos and articles for the general population to inform themselves.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Bruno, for having us. Thank you for sharing all the information. It's been really inspiring, and you know, I'm sure it will help a lot of people.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining me in this interview with Bruno Rodriguez. We have learned so much today about the UK laws governing immigration visas for entrepreneurs and investors. If you are an investor or you're seeking to invest in the UK, you need to have the finances available and ready before you come in, and then you need to come in, set up an account. It's a process that will be regulated by the FCA, and then you go from there and you put forward your application. If you want an entrepreneur visa, then you also need to have an idea, and the application process will depend on whether or not you are already in the country. Once you put through your application, you'll have to go through an interview to determine whether or not you really want to set up this business, and also you need to have a solid business plan. In many cases, you might need some support and help in putting together that business plan. And also, as you're going through the process, of course, you'll need the help of a good solicitor who knows what they're talking about and can guide you every step of the way. So thank you very much for joining us. Back to you, Sonia.
Thank you, Isabel. That was definitely informative for me, because I know I have international friends who would love to do business in the UK, and this information will be encouraging for them, as it has been for you today. So let's join Anthony as he summarises all the immigration points that we need to look into for our visa business application. Anthony, over to you. And I know your points are going to be very interesting today.